Commander Zex Toril stood on the bridge of the Valaxian mothership, his tall, gray figure reflected in the viewing screen that showed Earth below. He had conquered 17 worlds before this one. This blue planet would be number 18. "All systems ready, Commander," said Science Officer Kavira. She was younger than him, her skin a lighter shade of gray. "The fear gas canisters are prepared for deployment." Zexatoril nodded. The Valaxians had perfected fear as a weapon over centuries. Their scientists had created a gas that triggered the fear center in any brain. On every planet they had visited, the local species had surrendered within hours of the first gas release. No blood needed to be spilled. Fear alone was enough. "Begin the operation," Zextoril ordered. "Target their largest cities first." Across Earth, silver canisters fell from the sky. They landed in New York, Tokyo, London, Mumbai, Lagos, and a dozen other major cities. The canisters hissed open, releasing a pale green mist that spread quickly through the streets. In New York City, Jenny Wilson was walking to her job at the U coffee shop when she saw the strange green fog rolling down Fifth Avenue. People around her stopped to stare. The gas reached them and Jenny breathed it in. Immediately, her heart began to race. Her brain filled with images of darkness, of being chased, of falling from great heights. Classic fear responses. But something strange happened. Instead of running away screaming, Jenny started to laugh. "Whoa," she said to the businessman next to her, who was also chuckling. "This is like that haunted house I went to last Halloween, but better. What is this stuff?" Across the street, a group of teenagers had their phones out, recording themselves making funny faces as they experienced the fear. "Dude, this is better than that horror movie we saw last week," one boy said, giggling even as his pupils dilated with fear. Another teenager was already posting to social media. "Alien fear gas in NYC? Best Monday ever. Fear gas challenge. In Tokyo, businessman Takashi Yamamoto was leaving a karaoke bar with coworkers when the gas hit them. They all felt the rush of fear, but Takashi pointed at his boss's terrified face and burst out laughing. "Tanaka-san, you look like you did when you had to give the presentation to the CEO," he said, doubled over with laughter. His boss, despite feeling afraid, started laughing too. Soon they were all recording each other's reactions, comparing them to famous scared faces from horror movies. In Lagos, film director Oluwaseun Adeyemi was shooting a commercial when the green mist rolled in. As the fear hit him, he called out to his camera operator, "Keep rolling. This is perfect. The best special effect I've ever seen." He turned to his assistant. "Find out who's responsible for this. I want to hire them for my next horror film." Back on the Valaxian ship, Zextoril stared at the reports coming in with confusion. "This cannot be correct," he said. "The sensors must be malfunctioning." Kavira checked the readings again. "The sensors are working properly, Commander. The gas is triggering fear responses in the humans, but they're enjoying it." "Impossible," Zexatoril hissed. "No species enjoys fear. Fear is what keeps species alive. It is the ultimate control mechanism." "Perhaps we should analyze their behavior more closely," Kavira suggested. She pulled up video feeds from Earth, the screens filled with images of humans laughing, recording themselves and sharing their experiences online. "The fear gas challenge is trending worldwide," Kavira reported, studying the humans' primitive information network. "Humans are deliberately seeking out the gas to experience the fear." Zexatoril couldn't understand it. "Increase the potency. Perhaps it's not strong enough." On Earth, Dr. Maya Chen, an evolutionary psychologist at Columbia University, was studying the gas's effects. She had collected samples and was analyzing them in her lab. "Fascinating," she said to her research assistant. "This compound triggers the amygdala directly. It's a pure fear response with no actual danger." She smiled. "And that's exactly why humans find it fun." Dr. Chen called an emergency meeting with government officials who had gathered to address the alien gas attack. "The aliens made a fundamental mistake," she explained to the room full of serious-faced military and government leaders. "They don't understand human psychology." She pulled up a presentation on the large screen. Humans are the only known species that voluntarily seeks out fear, she explained. We watch horror movies. We ride roller coasters. We visit haunted houses. We've evolved to occasionally enjoy the biochemical cocktail our brains produce during controlled fear scenarios. General Roberts, a stern-faced military man, frowned. You're saying we've become immune to fear? Not at all, Dr. Chen replied. We still feel fear, but under controlled circumstances, when we know we're not in real danger. Many humans actually enjoy the sensation. The alien's gas creates fear without danger. For many people, especially thrill seekers, that's basically an amusement park ride. On the screens behind her, news footage showed people in London having fear gas parties, deliberately gathering where the canisters had released the gas. In Washington, D.C., the president addressed the nation. We face an unprecedented situation. An alien species has attempted to attack Earth using psychological warfare. Their weapon, fear itself. But they have greatly underestimated humanity's unique relationship with fear. Meanwhile, in rural Montana, the Valaxians had established a small observation post disguised within an abandoned farm. Zexatoril had traveled down to the surface with a team of scientists to study humans more directly. I don't understand, he said, watching feeds from around the world. Why aren't they surrendering? Why aren't they begging for mercy? Kavira, who had been analyzing human entertainment, played a clip from a human horror movie. On screen, humans paid money to watch other humans being chased and terrorized. They seek out fear, Commander, she said. For entertainment. Zextoril stared at the screen, his alien mind struggling to comprehend such a strange species. Then we must find something else they fear, he decided. Something they don't enjoy. All species have breaking points. But as night fell across America, the hashtag #AlienFearGasFail was trending worldwide, and humans were laughing in the face of what should have been the Valaxians' greatest weapon. The invasion had only just begun, but already, everything was going wrong. Commander Zexatoril paced back and forth in the Montana observation post. 2 days had passed since their first attack, and things were not going according to plan. On the wall screens, news channels showed humans actually celebrating the fear gas. This makes no sense, he growled. How can a species evolve to enjoy fear? Kavira was studying human biology and psychology reports. Commander, I think I understand why our plan failed. Look at Earth's history. She showed images of Earth's many dangers. Powerful predators, natural disasters, diseases, and extreme weather. Humans evolved on a planet with constant threats, she explained. Unlike our homeworld, where dangers could be eliminated through technology and cooperation, Earth's threats were often unavoidable. Humans couldn't control earthquakes or stop all predators, so they adapted psychologically instead. Zextoril frowned. So they just got used to being afraid? More than that, Kavira said. They learned to process fear, to live with it, and sometimes even to enjoy it under controlled conditions. It became a form of play, a way to practice dealing with dangerous situations. On her screen, she showed videos of children playing hide-and-seek, teenagers watching horror movies, and adults riding roller coasters. They're training themselves, Zextoril realized. From childhood. Exactly, Kavira nodded. And now our fear gas is just another form of entertainment for them. In her lab at Columbia University, Dr. Maya Chen was studying samples of the alien fear gas. She had been working non-stop since the first canisters appeared. The chemical structure is fascinating, she told her team. It targets the amygdala directly, creating fear without actual danger. Her assistant, Mark, looked through a microscope. Could we use this for therapy, like for treating anxiety disorders? Dr. Chen smiled. That's exactly what I'm thinking. If we can understand how it works, we might be able to help people who suffer from too much fear, not too little. Across town, Emma Reyes, a neurologist at New York Presbyterian Hospital, was treating patients who had unusual reactions to the fear gas. While most people found it entertaining, about 10% of the population had stronger reactions. Different brains respond differently, she explained to a worried mother whose teenage son had experienced panic attacks after exposure. Some people enjoy horror movies, others can't watch them. It's the same with the alien gas. Emma had been collecting brain scans from various patients. She noticed patterns emerging. People who suffered from anxiety disorders had much stronger responses to the gas than average. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, Jackson Cole was becoming an internet celebrity. The professional stuntman had posted videos of himself inhaling large amounts of the fear gas while doing increasingly dangerous stunts. "What's up, fear fans?" he said in his latest viral video. "Today, I'm going to breathe in some alien gas and then skateboard down Mulholland Drive. Let's see how fear affects my balance." His videos had millions of views, and people around the world were trying to copy his stunts, leading to several hospital visits. In Washington, D.C., retired Colonel Darius White was meeting with military officials at the Pentagon. At 62, White had served in multiple conflicts and was known for his cool head under pressure. "The aliens don't understand what they're dealing with," he told the room full of generals. "They think fear is our weakness, but it's actually one of our strengths." He pulled up images from battlefields throughout human history. Humans have always felt fear in combat, but we've learned to function despite it, sometimes even using the adrenaline to enhance performance. No species that fears fear itself could have created the courage we've shown throughout our history. General Rodriguez nodded. "So what's your recommendation, Colonel?" "Find their observation posts," White said. "Firmly. I believe they're studying us, trying to understand why their weapon failed, and I'm certain they're developing something new." Back in the Montana facility, Zextoral had ordered more potent versions of the fear gas to be developed. "If they can handle basic fear, we'll try something deeper," he told his science team. "All species have breaking points." Kavira was concerned. "Commander, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. If fear doesn't work on humans, maybe we should—" "Fear works on all intelligent life," Zextoral interrupted. "We just haven't found the right kind of fear yet." Around the world, governments had realized they were under alien observation. Instead of panicking, they developed an unusual defense strategy. In towns near suspected alien outposts, they organized horror movie festivals. Haunted houses were set up with volunteers inhaling small amounts of the fear gas to enhance the experience. Thrill seekers posted videos rating different fear gas releases like wine connoisseurs. "This batch from Chicago has notes of existential dread with a hint of childhood monster," said one popular review. The president addressed the world again. "We've identified multiple observation posts where the aliens are studying us. Rather than attack these locations, we're going to educate our visitors about humanity. Operation Fearless will begin tomorrow." The next morning, the Valaxians in Montana woke to find their hidden compound surrounded by a carnival. Humans had set up roller coasters, haunted houses, bungee jumps, and horror movie screens all around their location. Signs in multiple languages, including some surprisingly close attempts at the Valaxian script, welcomed them to Earth's Fear Festival. "They know we're here," Zextoral said, watching the humans through the facility's windows. Kavira was fascinated. "They're not attacking us, they're showing us their culture." Outside, families laughed as they experienced controlled fear on rides. Teenagers competed to tell the scariest stories around campfires. Psychologists gave lectures on the evolutionary benefits of managed fear responses. In New York, Dr. Chen had made a breakthrough. "The Valaxian fear gas affects our brains because fear pathways are similar across species," she explained to government officials. "This suggests that they experience fear too, though perhaps differently than we do." Emma Reyes, analyzing brain scans, added, "If we understood their neurochemistry, we might be able to understand what they fear." As night fell over Montana, Zextoral watched the human festival with growing frustration. Their plan had completely backfired. Instead of conquering Earth through fear, they had given humans a new form of entertainment. "Prepare the new compound," he ordered. "If they enjoy immediate fear, let's see how they handle deeper existential dread." Kavira hesitated. "Commander, I think we should learn more before—" "That's an order," Zextoral snapped. "Tomorrow we'll show these humans what real fear is." But as he looked out at the laughing humans enjoying their fear-based entertainment, a new, unfamiliar sensation crept into his mind. Doubt. Early morning in Chicago. The new canisters fell silently from the sky, releasing a darker green mist than before. This wasn't the same fear gas that had become a worldwide sensation. This was something new. Commander Zex Toril watched from his command center in Montana. This compound targets deeper brain functions, he explained to his officers. Not just the immediate fear response, but existential dread stored in the human subconscious. No species can laugh at the fear of meaninglessness. Kavira looked worried. Commander, my research suggests humans have complex psychological defenses. Perhaps we should test this on a smaller... The decision is made, Zex Toril interrupted. Begin full deployment over Chicago. The gas spread quickly through downtown Chicago. Office workers heading to their jobs were the first to feel its effects. Unlike the previous gas, which caused an immediate fear response, this one worked more slowly. People stopped walking. Their faces went blank. Then they began to look troubled. Marcus Jenkins, an accountant, sat down on a bench and stared at his hands. What's the point of anything? He muttered. We're all just tiny specks in an uncaring universe. Around him, others were having similar reactions. A businesswoman dropped her briefcase. Nothing I do matters, she whispered. In 100 years, no one will remember me. The streets of Chicago became quiet as people experienced deep existential dread. The Valaxians monitored the situation from orbit, satisfied with the initial results. See? Zex Toril said triumphantly. They can't laugh at this. But then something unexpected happened. In Millennium Park, a young woman named Sofia Rodriguez, who had been sitting alone, contemplating the meaninglessness of existence, looked up and noticed an old man experiencing the same thing. Hey, she said, moving to sit next to him. Are you feeling it too, like nothing matters? The old man nodded. Been feeling that way since my wife died last year. This gas just makes it stronger. How do you deal with it? Sophia asked. The old man smiled slightly. I feed the birds in the park. It's a small thing, but it brings a little joy to the world. Maybe that's enough. All across Chicago, people began talking to each other. Strangers discussed philosophy on street corners. In coffee shops, people debated the meaning of life. Parks filled with impromptu support groups. By afternoon, something remarkable was happening. Street artists began creating paintings expressing cosmic dread. Musicians gathered to play songs about finding meaning in a meaningless universe. Poets shared verses about the human condition. Social media filled with deep conversations instead of cat videos. People shared quotes from philosophers, spiritual teachers, and even comedians who had faced the void and found something to say about it. In her lab at Columbia University, Dr. Chen watched the Chicago live feeds with fascination. They weaponized existential dread against the wrong species, she told government officials. Humans have been using philosophy, religion, art, and dark humor to process existential terror since we first looked at the stars and realized our insignificance. She showed them clips of Chicago residents organizing discussion groups and art performances in response to the gas. The aliens don't understand that humans don't just flee from our deepest fears. We think about them. We write books about them. We make art about them. It's how we cope. In Montana, Colonel Darius White had assembled a team to find the Valaxian observation post. Using satellite data and reports of unusual activity, they had narrowed down the location to an abandoned farm. We need to move carefully, White told his team of Special Forces operatives. We're not looking for a fight, just confirmation and surveillance. Back in Chicago, Jackson Cole, the thrill-seeking internet star, had arrived to experience the Yao new gas. But instead of his usual stunts, he sat thoughtfully in a park. Hey followers, he said to his camera. This new alien gas is different. It's making me think about why I do these dangerous stunts. Maybe I've been trying to feel alive by risking death. That's pretty deep, actually. His followers responded with their own thoughtful comments instead of the usual do something crazy messages. In the Montana compound, Kavira presented her findings to Commander Zex Toril. The humans are adapting to the existential dread compound even faster than the fear gas, she reported. They're using it as a catalyst for connection and creativity. Zex Toril pounded his fist on the table. Impossible. No species should be able to transform fear into art. Perhaps that's what makes humans unique, Kavira suggested, their psychological adaptability. The commander glared at her. Are you admiring these primitives? I'm studying them, she replied carefully, as any good scientist would. Zex Toril turned to his war council. If we can't frighten them into submission, we need a new approach. We must discover what actually frightens humans, and weaponize that instead. One of his officers spoke up. Our scouts report unusual movement near our perimeter. Humans may have located this facility. Increase security, Zex Toril ordered, and prepare for the next phase of our plan. We will abduct human subjects and study their fears directly. Near the compound, Colonel White's team had set up surveillance. There's definitely alien activity in there, his second-in-command reported. What are your orders, sir? White studied the farmhouse through binoculars. We maintain position and gather intelligence. The president wants to avoid direct confrontation if possible. In Washington, D.C., the president met with his advisors. Dr. Chen joined by video call. The aliens are escalating, the president said. What do we expect next? They'll try to find what truly frightens us, Dr. Chen explained. But that's more complicated than they realize. Human fears are highly individual and cultural. What terrifies one person might not affect another at all. Emma Reyes, who had been analyzing brain scans of people exposed to both types of gas, added her insights. Humans fear social threats more than physical ones. Rejection, humiliation, and loneliness register as more terrifying than death for many people. So what truly scares all humans? The president asked. Dr. Chen shook her head. That's just it. There may not be a universal human fear. Our diversity might be our greatest defense. As night fell over Chicago, people gathered in Grant Park for an impromptu concert. Musicians played while philosophers and poets took turns speaking about finding meaning in the face of cosmic insignificance. The crowd sang together under the stars, their voices rising up toward the Valaxian ships that watched silently from orbit. Back in Montana, Zex Toril made his decision. Begin abducting human subjects from different cultures. If we can't find a universal fear that affects them all, we'll create one. But as Kavira looked at the monitors showing humans across Chicago connecting, talking, and creating art in response to existential dread, she wondered if her commander truly understood what kind of species they were dealing with. Dr. Omar Hassan woke up in a strange room with metallic walls. The social psychologist from the University of Chicago tried to remember how he got there. He had been walking home from the university when a bright light appeared above him. Then nothing. Hello? He called out. His voice echoed in the small chamber. A section of the wall slid open, and a tall, gray figure entered. Dr. Hassan had seen images of the aliens on the news, but seeing one in person was different. The Valaxian was nearly 7 feet tall with gray skin, large eyes, and a thin body. I am Kavira, science officer of the Valaxian Exploration Fleet, the alien said in perfect English. You have been selected for our research program. Abducting people is illegal on our planet, Hassan said, trying to stay calm. We apologize for the inconvenience, but our research requires direct study. Kavira held up a tablet-like device. We need to understand what humans truly fear. Over the next few days, Dr. Hassan learned he wasn't the only captive. The Valaxians had taken people from different cultures around the world. A Japanese businessman, a Brazilian farmer, an Australian teacher, and several others. The aliens subjected them to various stimuli designed to provoke fear responses. They showed them images of predators, natural disasters, and physical dangers. They simulated the dark, heights, and small spaces. They created illusions of falling and drowning. Kavira carefully recorded their reactions, looking confused when different humans showed wildly different responses to the same stimulus. Dr. Hassan, trained in understanding human psychology, began to see patterns in the Valaxian research. They were making a fundamental mistake. They assumed fear was universal and consistent across all humans. During one testing session, Kavira questioned him directly. "Your species' response to fear is unusual," she said. "Most react strongly to physical threats, but your brain scans show more intense responses to different stimuli." "Humans are complicated," Hassan replied. "Our fears are shaped by our experiences and cultures." "What frightens you most, Dr. Hassan?" Kavira asked. Hassan thought carefully before answering. He was beginning to understand the Valaxian psychology, and he saw an opportunity. "To be honest, nothing frightens humans more than kindness from our enemies," he said with a straight face. Kavira tilted her head. "Kindness? That causes fear?" "Absolutely," Hassan continued. "Our warrior culture sees compassion as the ultimate weakness. If an enemy shows kindness, we assume it's a trap, which triggers our deepest fears." Kavira made notes on her device. "Fascinating. This contradicts our understanding of social species." Over the next few days, Dr. Hassan fed the aliens more misleading information, suggesting that humans found cooperation terrifying and were secretly afraid of gift-giving and compliments. Meanwhile, back at the Montana compound, Commander Zex Taral was growing frustrated with the research results. "Nothing makes sense," he told his officers. "One human fears small spaces, another finds them comforting. One is terrified of spiders, another keeps them as pets. Their fears are completely inconsistent." One of the junior scientists spoke up. "Sir, our preliminary analysis shows a pattern. Humans seem to fear social threats more than physical ones. Rejection, public humiliation, and isolation register as more terrifying than death for many subjects." Zex Toril considered this. "Then, we should develop a compound that triggers feelings of social rejection." "But sir," the scientist continued, "even these social fears vary greatly between individuals and cultures. Creating a universal fear weapon may be impossible." In the research facility, Kavira was studying the brain scans of her human subjects. She noticed something peculiar in the comparative data between human and Valaxian neurochemistry. Their species processed fear very differently. "Valaxians evolved as a collective species," she muttered to herself. "Our greatest fears are of separation from the group, of individual action that might harm the collective." She looked at the human scans again. But humans evolved as tribal individuals. They fear rejection from their small group, but they're capable of standing alone if necessary. This realization troubled her. The more she studied humans, the more she began to question her own society's rigid structure. In Washington, D.C., Emma Reyes had been working with a team analyzing the data from the Chicago incident. She made a breakthrough discovery. "The composition of the aliens' fear gas tells us something about their own neurochemistry," she explained to Colonel White and government officials. "Based on how they designed these compounds, I believe they're terrified of individualism and creativity. Their society likely treats both as existential threats." Colonel White leaned forward. "You're saying we might be able to turn their own weapon against them?" "Potentially," Emma nodded. "But we need more data about their specific neurochemistry. Our surveillance team reports unusual activity at the Montana compound," an intelligence officer reported. "They appear to be holding human captives for some kind of study." In his holding cell, Dr. Hassan had gained Kavira's trust. She spent more time questioning him about human psychology than running fear tests. "Your species contradicts everything we know about evolutionary development," she told him. "You should have evolved to eliminate fear, not embrace it as entertainment." "Fear kept us alive," Hassan explained. "We couldn't eliminate the dangers of our world, so we learned to live with fear, to use it as information rather than just a control mechanism." He'd been carefully observing the Valaxians, noting how they operated as a perfect collective, rarely showing individual initiative. "May I ask you something, Kavira? What do Valaxians fear?" She seemed surprised by the question. "We fear what all rational species fear, threats to our collective survival." "Not individual threats?" Hassan pressed. "Don't you ever worry about your own safety separate from the group?" Kavira looked uncomfortable. Such thoughts would be inappropriate. The collective comes first. Hassan nodded slowly. Interesting. So independent thinking might be considered dangerous in your society. Before Kavira could answer, Commander Zextoral entered the room. He studied Hassan coldly. This subject asks too many questions, he said to Kavira. The research is not progressing quickly enough. We will accelerate our timeline. Commander, Kavira objected, we're learning valuable information about human psychology. The research phase is ending, Zextoral announced. The humans have rejected our psychological warfare. We will proceed with conventional weapons. He pointed at Hassan. This one has completed his purpose. Prepare him for termination. Kavira's eyes widened. Commander, eliminating test subjects prematurely violates scientific protocol. Are you questioning my orders? Zextoral asked dangerously, for perhaps the first time in her life Kavira hesitated before following a direct command. Her studies of human individuality had affected her more than she realized. No, Commander, she said finally, but I request time to complete final brain scans before termination. 1 hour, Zextoral conceded, leaving the room. When they were alone, Kavira turned to Hassan. Your species' capacity for individual action is remarkable, she whispered. Perhaps you could demonstrate it now. She pressed a button on her device, and a small door opened in the wall of the cell. This leads to a maintenance corridor, she said quickly. I cannot help you further without endangering the collective, but I find I cannot participate in your termination either. Hassan stared at her in shock. You're helping me escape? Why? Perhaps your fear gas has affected me too, Kavira said with something almost like human humor. Now go. The commander will not be as conflicted as I am. As Hassan slipped through the door, he realized he was witnessing something extraordinary, the first act of individual defiance in a Valaxian's life. And as he navigated the corridors of the alien facility, he carried with him crucial information about Valaxian psychology that might just save humanity. Dr. Omar Hassan moved carefully through the dark maintenance corridors of the Valaxian facility. He had no idea where he was going, but he knew he had to get out and share what he had learned about the aliens. Their fear of individuality might be humanity's greatest weapon. After an hour of searching, he found an exit hatch. Outside, he recognized the Montana countryside. Stars filled the night sky above him. He began walking, hoping to find a road or a town. Meanwhile, Colonel White's team was preparing to raid the alien compound. Intelligence had confirmed that humans were being held captive there. Remember, this is a rescue mission, White told his soldiers. We want to avoid casualties if possible. These aliens may be our first contact with intelligent life beyond Earth. Let's try not to start an interstellar war. His second-in-command nodded. Yes, sir. Teams are in position. At midnight, they moved in. The raid started well. They breached the outer defenses of the compound easily. But inside, they discovered the facility was much larger than they expected. Instead of a small observation post, it extended deep underground with hundreds of Valaxians. We need backup, White radioed to headquarters. This is a major alien base, not just an outpost. Before reinforcements could arrive, White's team was surrounded by Valaxian security forces. Their weapons were confiscated and they were taken to a large detention area where they found the other human captives. Colonel White? One of the captives approached him. I'm Dr. Takahashi from Tokyo University. They've been studying us, trying to understand what humans fear. White looked around at the other prisoners. Have they harmed anyone? No, Takahashi replied. Just tests and questions. Many questions about fear. In the command center, Commander Zexatoral received news of Hassan's escape and the human military incursion. This is unacceptable, he told his officers. First, the human test subject escapes, and now their military has infiltrated our facility. Find Hassan immediately, and bring me the leader of these soldiers. When Colonel White was brought before him, Zextoral expected to see fear. Instead, White studied him with calm curiosity. I am Commander Zextoral of the Valaxian Exploration. Fleet. Your intrusion into our research facility is an act of aggression. Your abduction of our citizens is also an act of aggression, White replied evenly. I'm Colonel Darius White, United States Army. I'm here to bring our people home. Zextoril circled White, studying him. You show no fear, Colonel. Why? White smiled slightly. I've spent decades training to control fear, Commander. It's what soldiers do. Interesting. Your species continues to confound us. As they spoke, White noticed something odd. The younger Valaxians in the room seemed to be watching him with fascination rather than hostility. Some were even using devices to record his words. One young Valaxian stepped forward. Commander, may I ask the human a question? Zextoril seemed annoyed by the interruption but nodded. Colonel, the young Valaxian asked, is it true that humans value individual expression? That you can disagree with your leaders without punishment? White nodded. Freedom of thought and expression are fundamental rights in most human societies. We believe the best ideas come from open debate and different perspectives. The young Valaxian's eyes widened. Several others moved closer, clearly interested. Zextoril noticed this and dismissed them angrily. Return to your stations. The human is trying to contaminate your thinking. When they were alone, Zextoril turned to White. Your capture has accelerated our timetable. Psychological warfare has proven ineffective against humans. We will now move to conventional weapons. White kept his expression neutral, but inwardly he was concerned. If the Valaxians had weapons matching their advanced technology, Earth was in serious danger. In Washington, D.C., Dr. Maya Chen, Emma Reyes, and government officials received an unexpected visitor. Dr. Omar Hassan had made it to a small town in Tuiutim, Montana, and contacted authorities. Their society is completely collective, Hassan explained, still wearing the gray jumpsuit the Valaxians had given him. Individual thinking is seen as dangerous. They're terrified of creativity and free expression. Emma, Reyes nodded excitedly. That matches my analysis of their fear gas compounds. Their neurochemistry shows extreme reactions to stimuli that would promote individual thinking. But there's something else, Hassan continued. I think they're changing. The scientist who helped me escape Kavira, she was different. Her exposure to human individualism affected her. She made a personal choice to help me, something that seems revolutionary in their culture. Dr. Chen looked thoughtful. Are you suggesting their younger generation might be susceptible to human cultural influence? Exactly, Hassan nodded. Many seemed fascinated by human creativity and individual expression, concepts completely foreign to their society. The president entered the room. Dr. Hassan, welcome back. We've received troubling news. Colonel White's rescue mission has been captured, and our satellites have detected movement in the Valaxian fleet in orbit. They appear to be positioning for an attack. Sir, Emma Reyes spoke up. Based on our analysis of the Valaxian fear gas and Dr. Hassan's information, we may have a defensive option. We could engineer a compound that would affect Valaxian psychology the way their gas was meant to affect us. A countergas, the president asked? Yes, Emma nodded. One that would make it difficult for Valaxians to suppress individual thoughts. Not as a weapon, but as a way to create confusion in their ranks. Meanwhile, on the Valaxian mothership orbiting Earth, Commander Zextoril had returned from the Yo surface facility. He stood on the bridge preparing his fleet for attack. The humans have proven resistant to psychological warfare, he told his officers. We will demonstrate our conventional weapons on their major cities. Once they understand our power, they will surrender. But as he gave the orders, Kavira entered the bridge with a group of younger Valaxian scientists and officers. Commander, she said formally, we request that you reconsider this course of action. Zextoril stared at her in shock. You question my orders? Publicly? Yes, Kavira said, her voice steady despite her obvious discomfort with direct confrontation. Our research indicates that humans are a unique species worthy of study and cultural exchange, not conquest. Several other young Valaxians nodded in agreement. This is unprecedented, Zextoril hissed. You have been contaminated by human ideas. Perhaps, Kavira acknowledged. Or perhaps we have learned something valuable from them. Their individuality has not destroyed their society. It has made them adaptable and creative in ways we never considered possible. As the confrontation on the bridge continued, Valaxian ships moved into attack position above Earth. In response, Earth's defense forces launched their secret weapon, missiles carrying the countergas developed by Emma Reyes and her team. The missiles didn't target the Valaxian ships directly. Instead, they exploded in space near the fleet, releasing a fine mist that was drawn into the ship's ventilation systems. Inside the mothership, Zexitoral was ordering Kavira and her supporters removed from the bridge when the countergas reached them. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, Valaxian crew members began to hesitate in following orders. "Continue the attack sequence," Zexitoral commanded. A weapons officer looked up from his station. "Why?" The single word hung in the air. In Valaxian society, no one ever questioned why when given an order. "Because I command it," Zexitoral said. The officer tilted his head. "But I don't understand the purpose. The humans have shown no aggression towards our homeworld. Why should we attack theirs?" Around the bridge, other Valaxians were having similar thoughts, asking questions, expressing individual opinions. Some were even suggesting alternative approaches to first contact. The invasion fleet fell into disarray as the chain of command collapsed under the weight of individual thought. Kavira, already predisposed to independent thinking from her time studying humans, felt her mind expanding with new possibilities. She stepped forward. "Perhaps," she suggested to the increasingly confused bridge crew, "it's time for a different approach to our relationship with Earth." Chaos reigned on the Valaxian mothership. The countergas had spread through all vessels in the fleet, and the previously perfect hierarchy was crumbling. For the first time in their history, Valaxians were experiencing true individual thought. "Commander." Zexitoral retreated to his private chamber, which had a separate air filtration system. He watched in horror as his invasion force dissolved into discussion groups. Weapons officers were debating the ethics of attacking Earth. Engineers were suggesting modifications to engines based on personal insights. Some crew members were even creating art. "This is a disaster," he muttered, watching through security feeds. The entire social structure that had defined Valaxian civilization for millennia was unraveling before his eyes. Meanwhile, Kavira had emerged as a natural leader among the affected Valaxians. Unlike Zexitoral, who had always relied on rigid hierarchy, she inspired others through ideas and respect. "We face an unprecedented situation," she told the gathered officers on the bridge. "For the first time, we are experiencing what humans call individual thought. It is disorienting, yes, but also remarkable." A young science officer spoke up. "I've been having what humans call ideas, thoughts that are uniquely my own. It's frightening, but also exciting." "The humans did this to us deliberately," another officer said. "They attacked us with this gas." "Yes," Kavira acknowledged. "But consider what we did first. We attacked them with fear gas, yet they responded not with destruction but with a compound that gave us something new: individual identity." On Earth, officials watched the Valaxian fleet through military telescopes. The ships had stopped, their attack positioning and now floated in seemingly random patterns. "It's working," Emma Reyes said, studying data from orbital sensors. "The countergas is affecting their hierarchy." Dr. Hassan nodded. "Their society depends on chemical suppression of individuality. Without it, they'll need to find a new way to organize themselves." "Will they still attack?" the president asked. "I don't think so," Dr. Chen replied. "At least not immediately. They'll be too busy experiencing individual thought for the first time." In Montana, Colonel White and the other human captives noticed the change in their Valaxian guards. The previously stern and silent aliens were now talking animatedly, asking the humans questions about individual choice and self-expression. "What does it feel like to disagree with your leaders?" one guard asked White. It feels normal, White answered. Healthy societies need different perspectives. Another guard was fascinated by human creativity. You create stories that aren't true, just for entertainment? And everyone knows they aren't true but enjoys them anyway. The prisoners found themselves becoming teachers, explaining concepts like personal preference, democracy, and artistic expression to increasingly curious Valaxians back on the mothership. Commander Zex Toril made one final attempt to regain control. He activated the emergency communication system that reached all ships. "This is your commander," his voice boomed throughout the fleet. "You have been contaminated by human influence. Return to your stations and resume attack positions immediately." This is a direct order. In the past, such commands would have been obeyed instantly without question. Now, silence followed. On the bridge, Kavira turned to the communications officer. "Please open a channel to Earth." When the connection was established, she spoke directly to human leadership for the first time. "This is Science Officer Kavira of the Valaxian Fleet. I wish to speak with your leaders about our current situation." In the White House Situation Room, the President himself responded. "This is the President of the United States. We're listening." "Your countergas has had a profound effect on our people," Kavira explained. "Our social structure was based on chemically suppressed individuality. You freed us from that suppression, which has created both challenges and opportunities." "What are you proposing?" the President asked. "I believe both our species could benefit from cultural exchange rather than conflict," Kavira replied. "We have much to learn from each other. Your individualism has created remarkable adaptability and creativity. Our collective cooperation could help you address global challenges." While negotiations began between Kavira and Earth's leaders, Colonel White and the other prisoners were released. As White prepared to leave the Montana facility, he was approached by the young Valaxian who had questioned him earlier. "Colonel," the alien said, "I want to understand more about human courage. How do you face fear as individuals rather than as a collective?" White smiled. "That's a big question. Maybe you should come with us and see for yourself." 3 months. Later, the first official human-Valaxian cultural exchange program was established. Valaxian scientists worked with human researchers to develop new technologies that benefited both species. Dr. Chen and Kavira led joint research on psychological resilience, showing how the human capacity to process fear made them uniquely adaptable. In return, humans learned from the Valaxians' cooperative abilities. Their techniques for collective problem-solving, once freed from artificial suppression, offered new models for human collaboration on global challenges like climate change. The fears of both species gradually transformed. Humans became less afraid of differences and the unknown. Valaxians became less afraid of individual expression and change. Together, they created something new, a relationship based on mutual growth rather than conquest. Emma Reyes and her team developed therapies based on modified versions of the Valaxian fear gas, helping people with anxiety disorders and phobias. Jackson Cole, the thrill-seeking influencer, became the host of a popular show where humans and Valaxians experienced each other's cultural practices. 1 year after first contact, a joint Valaxian-human theatrical production opened on Broadway. A comedy about the failed invasion that had become a friendship. The play featured both species laughing together at their fears and celebrating their differences. In the audience sat Commander Zex Toril, now working as a reluctant cultural liaison. The former invasion leader still struggled with the concept of individual thought. But even he had begun to appreciate certain human experiences, particularly their food and music. As the audience laughed at a scene depicting Valaxians confused by human horror movies, Zex Toril found himself smiling, slightly. He still didn't understand why humans laughed at fear, but he was beginning to accept that there were many ways to experience the universe. Kavira, sitting beside him, noticed his small smile. "You're adapting," she observed. Reluctantly, he admitted. "These humans are still bizarre creatures." "True," Kavira agreed. "But what species isn't from another's perspective?" On stage, the actors portrayed the moment when humans first laughed at the fear gas. The audience, both human and Valaxian, erupted in laughter. The universe, it turned out, had much to fear from a species that laughed in the face of terror, but even more to gain from their friendship.